Hello and welcome to the Quaint. Hello and welcome to the Quaint and Cozy KC podcast. This is season 2, episode 2. I apologize for the delay because I am on Zoom and I have a really funny story about my Zoom experience. So when I'm recording it on Zoom and then I'm doing the live video on Quaint and Cozy KC, my TikTok channel, which you are all invited to follow if you're not already following. Anyway, so last week I didn't realize when you saved it to your computer, it didn't save on the cloud. I just wasn't paying attention. I thought, oh no, because a lot of things, well, you save it, you kind of download it to your computer, but it stays kind of like on the cloud. Zoom don't do that, y'all. It does not do that. If you're not in the cloud, you're not in the cloud. So I was trying to free up some space on my 2018 laptop. And I deleted the recording thinking, oh, I'll just go back, and then it wasn't there. But luckily, I had the TikTok video, so what I was able to do is, and thank goodness for 2024 technology, I was able to download the TikTok video. Well, I technically uploaded it to YouTube. Then I was able to upload it to Spotify. And so if you listen to it, I mean, obviously you can still listen to it on audio, but there is an accompanying video. And I was like, okay, that works too in a pinch, but I do kind of prefer to use the Zoom recordings because I don't necessarily want to be like on Spotify, like doing a Spotify video for this. So so that's kind of like, that was like the drama earlier this week. That's why it took me a little bit longer to upload the podcast for last week's episode. And then this week, it was very interesting because I was all ready to go on Wednesday, and then I swear everything just kept stacking up more and more stuff, and it was getting later and later in the evening. And then finally it was like, wow, if I try to do a podcast now, I'm going to be half asleep, going to be a little like, loopy. And I also realized that up until that point, I'd done some things. I wanted to talk about like my Saturday lake thing, but I felt like maybe I could do a couple more things and make the episode a little bit more super packed with things. So I'm going to start with last Saturday. As you know, and if you watched my cooking videos earlier this week, I talked about the lake bites, how that went. So I had a group of friends and we went to Smithville Lake, and I had never been to Smithville Lake. And I've lived here for about, 12 years, but I've only lived in the Northland for about 5 years. So I'd never been to Smithville Lake, and I'd always see people on Instagram and Facebook having the time of their lives at Smithville Lake. So I'm like, oh, I gotta go. Now I did not plan, because I had a lot of stuff going on last Saturday, to get on a boat or do anything like that, because I didn't want to be exhausted. Because if you go out, even if you're hydrated, you got the sunscreen on, you sit in the sun and you're just like kind of like sleeping, well then to me that makes me extra sleepy. I've fallen asleep in the sun before, and it's like a different level of napping, where it's like a power nap. Even if you only sleep for about 20 minutes, you feel like you've slept for about 2 days. And I thought, if I get out there and start snoozing, I am not going to get to my next destination. So I really enjoyed my time at Smithville Lake. I ended up doing the lake bites, the quesadillas, and I made them very thin, and which, again, because it was hot, and so we were just trying to keep things on ice. And so I made them very thin, and I made a nice salsa to go along with it. And with the salsa, because I knew it was going to be hot outside, I also wasn't familiar with what everybody's level of heat, like what kind of heat they could take in their salsa dip. So I went ahead and I made it with like this cilantro lime seasoning that you can find at Dollar Tree, and then I added lime juice in it to kind of cool it down. So it was kind of like a burst of it was like the tomato, all that stuff, that acidic, but then it was that burst of lime to kind of cool it down. So a lot of people did note that. And then someone's like, well, okay, what's your recipe? And I'm like, recipe? I can cook with recipes, but when it comes to myself, it's really hard for me to document recipes, because I kind of go with it. I'm really good at savory cooking because I can just kind of go with it. I know, like for me, seasonings are a puzzle. You just kind of go, oh, this goes here. I've got my rosemary here. I've got my thyme. Now what am I gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna throw some basil in there, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Okay, I've got like a seasoning. Like that's how I do it. Everything in my mind goes. If I want to make it like more savory, when I say savory, more of that comfort food, then I'm going to use some smoked paprika, because that is going to bring kind of like that depth to the flavor. It's going to add just a little bit of something. It's not just going to be so like a light bite. when I'm doing light bites, I'm going to use a rosemary, a thyme, a basil, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of oil. But if I want it to stick to your ribs or have that feeling of sticking to your ribs, or I want you to think of like, comfort at your Nana's house or wherever, I am going to add that smoked paprika because it's going to give that like extra taste and then instant sense of comfort. So, and then I also made lemon bites. So the reason why, again, when it's hot outside, if I do a cake or anything like that, it's going to be a small little bite. So I did lemon bites, and I used a mix, but with the mixes, how I get mine to get so moist. I know people don't like that word, but how I do that so it doesn't dry out, I should say, I add, if it's a half a cup of the vegetable oil, I add in another half cup, so it's like a cup of vegetable oil. And especially with, like, because lemon can get dry. Lemon cake stuff can get dry. And so that's kind of what I did. And then I added a little bit of like a couple teaspoons of like lemon juice in there just to really make that lemon burst out, like that flavor burst out. And so as a result, the lemon bites were a success. The salsa was a success. And again, just to talk about the quesadillas just a little bit more, I used all the cheese that I had in my refrigerator, right? I was like, okay, different cheeses have different I had like a mild white cheddar. I had like a Mexican style cheese with the mixed cheddars. And then I think I even had like some kind of mozzarella that like shreds, all shredded. And I just made them really thin on the tortillas, and I cut them into fourths. So that way you weren't trying to eat this huge hunk of quesadilla because it's too hot for that. So I wanted it to kind of be like a chip with a little bit more in there. I baked up some bacon, chopped it up, put it in there. I had bacon in there. I had some of them that were just cheese, like seasoned cheese in there. And I think I want to say that I used a little bit of ground beef. Like in my mind, I think I used ground beef. I'm pretty sure I did use like maybe a little ground beef in there. And so that, it was a hit. And so now I am charged with, doing the recipe. And someone even said, if you did more recipe blogs and stuff like that, you probably would gain some more followers. Now, I don't do things just to gain followers. This is a passion project for me at this point. And yes, I do have aspirations, but I'm like, more fun, but that's a lot of work. I could also gain some more work having to do that. But I'm definitely looking into it, and I'm definitely working on those recipes. I'll be working those out. Something else that I'm doing is that I am doing kind of a meal prep thing. So I meal prep, and I'm noticing like, you know what? I have like a day and a half worth of food sometimes I have to throw out. It's like I just didn't make it to that day. And then I thought, you know what? Because I'm going to be trying new recipes and trying to actually write them down, why don't I go ahead and find a recipe tester? So I have found a friend of mine has agreed to be a recipe tester, so I'm very excited about that. I'm going to be doing the 3 meals kind of thing. So I'm going to have some waffles. I'm going to have some of the blackberry sauce that I make. So basically I kind of make a compote, and I'm going to add like lime juice and lemon juice to the blackberry, a little bit of sugar, cook that down, and have that be the sauce for the waffles, because I do have that waffle maker. And so that's kind of like what he'll be trying out, is like really the sauce, because the waffles are coming from a box, okay? They're coming from a box, and then I'm going to do that, because I got that waffle press that does 4 at a time. Feeling kind of fancy with that. And so I'm going to, that's kind of what, I'm going to start that breakfast off with that. And then I'm going to have like a couple of lunch items, probably paninis. And then I'll be doing also some breakfast burritos. And then finally like chicken, like I've got these chicken patty things. I'm going to season those up and probably maybe do a sandwich with it or not. And then definitely I got my potatoes. So, my recipe tester, I'm going to be doing this for the next couple of months, next, 8 or 9 Sundays. He is going to be eating like a king, because that is like, it's going to help me. And then also it is going to help me to not waste food. And I think it's just, if we could all kind of do that, again, not everyone has the time to do it, but I do have the time to do it, and it's actually helping me out as well. And in both ways, like I won't be like that day and a half of food. And when I say that, you know what I'm talking about. It's like it's mostly gone. You just got like that 25% of everything has 25% of it, and it's like you're like, oh my gosh, this is gonna go bad in a day. So then you're like eating 5 meals a day to try to like and you're sending things with people to lunch. Hey, come on by, pick this up for lunch, whatever. And so now I'm like, now I won't have to do that. Now I'm literally gonna have that is going to be gone, and then I'll get a recipe tester out of it as well. So I'm like, it's a win for everybody. And so now, like I've talked about all of that, I do have another podcast. It's going to be a longer format podcast with a whole different kind of thing going on. And so that is in its final stages, getting that together. And I've been booking guests and all that stuff, getting that together. And so I'm really excited about that. It's going to be a food podcast, and which makes me very, very happy. And so yeah, more details about that in the next few weeks. You'll be seeing that. Now I want to talk about Horsefeather social, because that's where I went on Saturday after my glorious day at the lake, where and so Smithville Lake is it's like in the northern area of the Kansas City metro. So then Horsefeather is kind of like in the crossroads area, closer to downtown, like you're actually in Kansas City and everything, and like downtown Kansas City area. And so one of the things I do want to say to you is that if you go to Horsefeather social on a Friday or Saturday, you need to probably like ride share with somebody, like carpool with somebody, or take an Uber or whatever, because parking is tight. I was able to park, it's actually in the Lowe's Hotel. It's the rooftop of the Lowe's Hotel. Lovely hotel. I've been there before, but like I didn't really look around because I was just kind of like, after my lake day, I knew it was going to be an early night for me, so I didn't do the whole exploring the whole hotel. But I will definitely do that. That's on my list to do. So it's beautiful, but parking is really difficult. Street parking is very difficult. And then the parking spaces at the Lowe's Hotel, it's kind of tight. Like they pack you in, and I totally get it from a business standpoint, but you just have to kind of be prepared for that. But it's beautiful. Like I took the elevator up, and there was like the first thing, and like the elevator opened, the first thing I saw was this beautiful kind of art installation that was coming down from the ceiling. It was gorgeous. I think if you follow me on Quaint and Cozy KC, I did do this TikTok. I did do like a video slide of that, and so you'll see it. It's kind of like look kind of crystally. It was really beautiful. And then you walk in, and then what I really appreciate about it, it's not just a rooftop bar. There's kind of like they've got like this kind of astroturf down where it looks like you can play cornhole, and there's something else I think you could do as well. And people were just kind of like congregating around there, and they had couches. They actually had a decent amount of seating. Sometimes on those rooftops, the seating is not great, so you're just kind of like, you spend the whole time drinking on the rooftop, but then you're kind of eyeing to see like, okay, is that table getting up? Do they look like they're getting up? Wait, are they? Oh, wait, like you're doing that. And this place, I went about 7:15 or so. So, I mean, the tables were filled, but there were kind of couches. And then as the night progressed, like I noticed in the beginning of the evening, it was younger people. Like it's kind of like where they started off, like the start off bar, like, oh yeah, meet us here. They do actually have some bites to eat. I ordered a pizza, and I cannot remember the name of the drink. Like I have to go back to think of the cocktail that I ordered. I did order an adult beverage, but I did order like one of their pizzas, and it's kind of like an oval pizza, but it's definitely enough. And it came out, and I did post that, but if not, I'm actually going to do a blog review of them as well. So it's enough for 2 people. Now again, is it going to fill you up like, oh my gosh, no, but it's enough for 2 people. If you're drinking, the cocktails, and you want to split something, and you don't necessarily want a heavy meal. Plus it's like, summertime, you want to have just like a bite that covers it, then definitely their pizza was pretty reasonably priced. I was really surprised. I thought things would be way more expensive than what they were, but it was pretty reasonably priced. Especially if you have a date, or what I mean date, like, you're in a couple, an established couple, where if you're splitting things and stuff like that, it's not such a faux pas. Or if you're with like your girl besties or guy besties or whatever, you guys can split something, But I definitely think two people could split it and be comfortable. You probably could get like a third person in there to like, eat something, and so something would be on your stomach to drink. So they do have kind of a variety of menu items. And the dress, like I wore a dress, like a nice summer dress, nothing too fancy. I saw people in various states. Some people were like in shorts and tanks, other people, but a majority of the people kind of dressed up. And so I kind of think, it's just kind of like a nice vibe to either start off the evening or cap off the evening. If you've, gone to a show or whatever, you come back there after the show, depending on, how late, if like you went to like a matinee or something like that, it's a great place to kind of cap off the evening. And so it was really beautiful. And the skyline, you could see the skyline of like the Crossroads area. So definitely recommend going there just because it was a nice vibe. And again, if that's the only place you go for, and they're open during I think they're open during like the afternoon and early evening. So that might be a nice option for you if you don't want to be kind of out fighting traffic or anything like that at night. But yeah, I definitely, Horsefeather Social, great atmosphere, great service. Everyone was very polite and everything. Just a nice kind of rooftop vibe if you're going for that. So yes, definitely check that out. Now, I also went, the reason why I kind of seem kind of frazzled, I have a backyard wedding today, a backyard June wedding. And then it's going to be hot today, but we are happy for the bride and groom. Shout them out. But it's, it's going to be June and all the people and all that stuff. And I think, and they're going to have like, things to drink and food trucks, like all the good stuff that makes a backyard June wedding so charming. And so I'm doing that, but I'm also possibly going to my friends are playing in the Northland. So if the weather doesn't get too crazy, I might like stop there after the wedding. And so they kind of play in a cover band named SNAFU Rock. I think SNAFU Rocks. And so I'm really excited. Hopefully I can make it there after the wedding is over, after the reception, everything like that. So go check them out for a set or two. They're playing, I think they're playing at Captain's in the Northland. So yeah, I probably should have like looked that up. Like, you know what? The good thing is when you're on Zoom and you've got your computer open, you can totally look that up. So let me just go ahead and do that. I'm gonna look this up really quickly. Just so I want to confirm if you're into that. I love their shows because it's good. It's good, clean, family fun. Everyone's like married, dads in the band, and so it's pretty wholesome fun there. And I don't know as far as like, I don't know if I saw kids or anything like that at the place, but definitely I saw lots of people. Okay, they're called SNAFU Band KC. I saw lots of people having fun, people of all ages. Like there's some senior citizens out there cutting the rug, and I always kind of like to see that. That's a good vibe to experience. Just everyone out there dancing and having fun like it should be. And it is Captain's North. So that is where they are. That's where they're playing, at Captain's North. And that is in the Northland. It's off of North Oak Parkway. So yeah, Captain Sports Lounge is the name of it. Gosh, that took a while, didn't it? So yeah, they're at 10221 North Oak Traffic Way. And yeah, so check them out, Captain Sports Lounge. And I'm really excited because on my other podcast, I'm planning on interviewing one of the band members and his wife, because they do all the coffee kind of posts, and that's their whole mission, is like coffee, their quaint and cozy kind of coffee vibe. So I like a good coffee shop. And so I am always tuning in because they post on Sunday. So I'm always like kind of like sipping my tea, literally, and checking out where they go, because they get pictures and they go into in-depth kind of like a review. So I definitely appreciate that. And I've discovered a couple of new coffee shops because of that. I'm like, oh, that was a coffee shop. I shop at the store next door. I didn't realize that was a coffee shop. So again, you want to check them out. They just such a great site there. They I think they do it on Facebook. I'm probably gonna have to put that in a later maybe in my blog, because I think, yeah, they do it on Facebook, and it's Troy Apostle and Vanessa Allen Apostle. They do that, and it's such a great vibe. So that is what I've got going on for this weekend. Now, I wanted to tell you, I came from the farmer's market. Well, first, I went to Ginger Sue's, and that is a cute little breakfast place in Liberty. I think they have a location in Lee Summit, and I've been trying to go there for a long time. And every time I try to go there, it's super packed. One time, the GPS, because I didn't have it in my mind where it was at, even though I know downtown Liberty pretty well, I kept walking in a circle. I'm like, why can't I see this place? Because of, and when I kind of post this, you'll see how their sign is. It's like, it's this very like elegant sign and script. And because it's a diner, I was thinking it was going to be a little more kitschy, but it's kind of like a nice little breakfast luncheonette place. They don't do dinner. Um, but yeah, it's such a cute place. I wish some of these places, I wish that they did dinner, even if they did like an early service that ended at like 8 o'clock. I would totally be lined up to go there because the food was really good. I had some bacon, eggs, and some of their potatoes. And you know, they offer you this option for seasonings. And they're like, well, you can do sugar, you can do pepper, you can do rosemary. And I'm like, okay, I got to do the rosemary because I love the fragrant smell of rosemary and I like the taste. So I kind of opted for the rosemary, and it was so good. I was like, oh my gosh. And again, I cook with rosemary a lot, but a lot of restaurants around here don't necessarily share my love of rosemary on everything. So it was kind of refreshing. Ginger stews, and the prices were pretty reasonable. And what I really appreciate about it is that they have counters. So, you know, some luncheonettes don't have counters. Like they have like maybe 2 seats at the counter. They had full on counter. So let's say you went in with some of your like, you know, 3 of your other besties, or, you know, a couple like 2 of your other friends and couples. You guys could all sit at the counter together. You don't have to necessarily um, go to a table, especially if you just want a quick kind of in and like, you know, eat your food and then go on down the street, because down the street is the farmer's market. And so I was just there for a little bit today. It started kind of sprinkling. And again, I do have the other things this afternoon to kind of, because I'm hanging out with my mom too before I go to that wedding. So, you know, I had a couple other things to do. So I'm like, oh man, I can't really traipse the farmer's market. And, you know, I told you last week about the passports that people have for the farmer's markets. I really wanted my stamp and I forgot my passport at home. So next time I go out, I'm definitely going to do that. I had originally planned, because I want to try some new farmers markets. I haven't been to the KCK farmers market, and I wanted to do Bonner Springs, but it was just going to be too much of a, you know, run here, run there. So I'm not going to do it. But next week, I'll be able to check out the Olathe, because remember, Olathe has 2 farmers markets that happen on one each end of town. So in Olathe. So I'm going to be checking those out next week, because I actually have like a birthday brunch at 10 a.m. in Olathe. So I'm like, you know what? I might as well get out there early, take some pictures, talk to some people, line up some interviews. Because like I said, you're watching this, you're like, man, you know, like I make candles, or I knit, I do these things. I love to go to these quaint and cozy places. I want to interview you, because this season is all about talking to other people about the quaint and cozy things that they're doing, so we can all sit and learn. Because kind of my goal with this podcast is to have that kind of podcast where you can listen to it as you are cooking, chopping, you know, chopping vegetables, putting things in the oven, you know, going on leisurely walks, anything like that. Just something to kind of like mellow you out, because the world is very serious right now. And sometimes we all kind of need to take that step back and have that break. And so that's kind of the goal of my podcast. But I thought, you know what? As I'm saying this to you, and it's great to listen to someone's adventures, right? But it's also great to learn about what other people are doing. When you have those interviews, you've got the energy exchange. I'm asking the questions, they're answering, and sometimes they might ask me, you know, a question, like that kind of thing. I do like listening to, you know, very engaged interviews, because then I'm like, oh, wow. And then sometimes when the podcast is that engaging, you find yourself, you're like, oh, I'm just going to just do a little veg prep. One time I listened to, I think it's called Seasoned, and it's on Connecticut Public Radio. I listened to 2 episodes back to back. You guys, and it was like maybe a total of 2 hours. I had all my vegetables prepped. I had run the dishwasher. I had like mopped the floors. I mean, all the things I was able to do in this 2 hour span of time because I kind of was in the right mindset. Like I was listening to the interviews, I was listening to the topics, I was learning something. And so, again, that's kind of like my goal with the podcast is to kind of be that kind of podcast. Now, I'm going to go on because I've talked about kind of like some things that are going on, but somebody asked me like, well, if I want to kind of get into the quaint and cozy lifestyle, like what can I do like today, right? And it's like, like to kind of meet people, do that. And I was thinking, I'm like, well, Friends of the Library, they have the Friends of the Library around here. Now, I don't know what the entry fee is for the memberships or how do the volunteers, but it's definitely something to check out because I'm pretty sure you have a local library and I'm pretty sure that library probably needs some volunteers or needs, people to help them out sometimes. So that's another great way to meet other quaint and cozy people, joining the Friends of the Library. Also, there's a lot of playhouses and theater and art here. And those places need volunteers to usher or to kind of help with the artists, like that kind of thing. That's another way to kind of get involved. And also, I know that we're always getting notifications for everything. I've got an email set up, and all that email is for is all the newsletters. And so I actually do go through especially the local newsletters to kind of see kind of what's going on. Now, sometimes those things are still on their website, but a lot of times there's like stuff in their newsletters that are not on the website. So again, that's another way joining getting a newsletter and actually reading it and figuring out where things are. And also there are some really cool websites and things like that you can look up. Just a simple Google search, of like Kansas City theaters. A lot of times, especially in Kansas City, I'm noticing they have, if I put in like Kansas City theater, there's a website that just catalogs all the links, right? It's kind of old school. I kind of like it. And it tells you where all the theaters are. So you can kind of like click on the links and figure out if someone's got something playing, and then you can join them on Facebook or Instagram, kind of stay in the loop. So I really do kind of appreciate that about Kansas City because we'll have a genre and a niche, and then someone will have the foresight to put something together so that you can just get on that page and just keep clicking links. Now, some quaint and cozy things that I experience on Facebook. So there's a couple of sites that I just kind of want to shout out. So Cocktails and Candlelight. I'm not sure where they're based. I first I thought it was Topeka, but I'm not sure. But I really enjoy their content because they seem to be all over like northeastern Kansas. And so Cocktails and Candlelight, there's always something new on there I've noticed. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that place existed. Oh, wow, I didn't know that place. So that's a nice kind of a little site that I'll visit like at least once a week. Also, the Besotted Bookworm. Now, this one is really literary book based. So if you're like a book nerd like me, and they've got like book memes and all that stuff. And again, it's a nice little quaint and cozy getaway. And then if you're kind of like in the Wichita area, Central Kansas area, Dining with Denise, I'm definitely going to ask her to be on my podcast at some point because she's got some definitely interesting adventures that she's going on in the Wichita area with dining and all that stuff. So I definitely want to have her on the podcast. Now, some other quaint and cozy things that I've been doing. Discovery Plus, okay? It's under $10 and you can get such great content. They've got the cooking channel on there, Oxygen, like the ID channel, like all these HGTV, like all these. Now, again, the ID channel, I would not call that Quaint and Cozy KC, but it's still, it's on that. But Discovery Plus offers you all these things. But I'm on there to watch the cooking shows. And Magnolia obviously is my favorite kind of channel on there, but I do watch other people. I discovered this person. I didn't discover him because, but I was like on Sunday when I was kind of winding down, because I do think it's important whenever you can do that is to have like that 1 hour to 90 minute, if you can do it, wind down where you just kind of go, okay, I've got, my cup of tea or like my glass of wine. And it's like, 7 o'clock on a Sunday or 8 o'clock on a Sunday. And I just need to decompress before I start, my day, my hectic work week on Monday. So I started watching the show called Hot Dish with Franco. So it's Franco Noriega. and he is half Peruvian and half Italian. So he does traditions, kind of like he'll do South American food and he'll fuse it with some Italian food. And and it's really cool and it's very accessible. And one of the recipes that he showed on there were these chocolate chip cookies, but he put them in these miniature cast iron skillets, like the little small ones. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to be the first to tell you, I'm not the best cookie baker, okay? I can do a sugar cookie and kind of put that green sand on it and like, oh, look, well done. But it's hard for me to get the shape down. I never get the shape down. It's always some weird thing. But when he showed me when he put it on his show and he showed like the little miniature pans and he was making something for friends because they're always, they always have to have their premise, but he was making like this meal for friends, and for dessert, he just wanted something simple. So he did chocolate chip cookies. He did like a little square of chocolate, like baker's chocolate. And then he put that underneath the dough, like he had dough down, then he put the baker square, and then he put dough on top of it. So it was like this chocolate chunk underneath. Oh, it looks so good. But he got the shape because again, the cookie follows the shape of the little pan. So I'm going to be honest with you. I did buy those pans. They're on Amazon. They're for under $20. I think it's a nice investment for me because when I bake for people, generally, I like to give the birthday person or the person of honor like their own little box of goodies. And then everybody else gets like the sheet cake, and then you get your own little special like box or, of dessert. I do that a lot with mini bundt cakes. Now they're the really small bundt cakes. I really don't like to make those because those are hard to flip up out of that pan. But so these are the individual bundt cakes that I make. And then what I'll do is I'll either make a frosting for them, or I'll use like a blackberry sauce on there. And the most popular one is the devil's cake, the chocolate, the deep chocolate ones, very popular. I did another one popular one was lemon. I did that with like blackberry, and I just kind of let the compote just kind of like, I kind of slathered it in there. And so, and then I did one with strawberries, and that was actually I got a lot of compliments on the strawberry one. Because again, I make it so this is the kind of thing you're just gonna kind of like, you can either half it, have a little bit, or you can like eat the whole thing like as an individual. But to go back to those cookies, I thought, man, that's a great idea. And I think I think four little mini pans come in the order. I can actually, because I have my laptop in front of me, I can actually look that up. I believe it's 4 pans that are sold, like that it comes with. But I just want to check and make sure, just in case you're interested in buying it. I don't want to steer you in the wrong direction. Let's see here. Okay, so it's 4. It is 4, it's the mini kind. And again, they also say you can put cookies, brownies, or eggs. And I thought, man, I do have like a crepe pan kind of omelet maker, but I thought, how cute would that be? You're just doing like this little petite kind of brunch. And I thought, oh man, that's such a great, you could do little mini frittatas. Like that is such a great brunch idea. And then I also have that cast iron skillet where it's got like the pie wedges in it. And I thought, you know what? Oh my gosh, I'm going to have these petite brunches. When you meet up with your friends and stuff, it's like a little potluck brunch. It's like, I am going to be the superstar of the potluck brunch with these things. And I'm like, oh wow, now I can maybe even meal prep that as well. I might add that to like my meal prep thing, just, because again, it's a little bite, and then you've got like potato, because I like to do, my friends call them my micro meals, because it's like I do like a small version of something. And again, that way I can have more ingredients and I'm not getting weighed down, because I love good food, but sometimes if you're trying to like get a really quick start in the morning, if you load yourself down with a big breakfast, you're not moving very quickly. Okay. At least I'm not moving very quickly. So I'm very kind of mindful about that. Like, I'm like, okay, I gotta kind of pay attention to that. So I'm definitely going to be posting, if you follow me on Quaint and Cozy KC Facebook or my TikTok, Quaint and Cozy KC TikTok, you'll probably see, and then I have Instagram as well. You'll probably see that on there. And I'm trying to think, I have my notes. I'm like, I actually kind of have notes today, and there's some food news, but I kind of want to wait on that because I think that it's going to be like a bigger discussion. And, it's Saturday morning and I still have like 3 more things to do. So I'm like, we're just going to hold off on that. I was going to give you some food news, but we're going to hold off on that. Something is, somebody said, I saw a meme that said, the way someone can get you into like the van, like a scary van, is tacos. Tacos are great, but like if someone's like, we've got beautiful wildflowers here from the farmer's market, I'd be like, I'm just gonna pop my head in real quick. I realized, you guys, I have a thing about wildflowers. I am that person. I will see wildflowers growing, and I think I said this last week, but I will see wildflowers growing. I'm like, it needs a picture. I see the flower boxes, and I'm like, it needs a picture. So if you see me on my Quaint and Cozy KC posting random flowers and flower boxes and everything, that's just kind of like, I call it, that gives me like spring and summer joy, early fall joy, just to take pictures of the foliage and the flowers. Because, and I think for me especially, I love flowers. I grew up planting them with my grandma. My mom used to plant flowers. And so I kind of like have an affinity for just being around them. And I think that, there's so much natural beauty, probably where you live as well, even if you're outside the Kansas City area. I'm just joking. But like, there's probably like some nice fields of flowers, or there's a neighborhood. There's always I always call them the flower people, the gardening people. And when I was younger, I would make fun of them. Like, I don't know if I would ever want to do that. Like in my 20s, I'd be like, oh man, yeah, I think about my grandma, like being so flower happy. I'm like, it was so brutal. Like, how can, but then as I've gotten older, I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I thank the flower people, because they kind of are beautifying like the neighborhood. They're making the walks like kind of, that much more charming. So I take little pictures of the stuff. I mean, it's, again, there's just the beautification. I definitely have an appreciation for that I did not have for it like 20 years ago. So there you go. I am so excited that you guys are with me today, and that you guys have been kind of listening. Like it's growing. I'm growing slowly, but I'm growing. I also have these videos, all the videos, all my lives that I do. My old ones on Facebook, and my other TikTok that I was using before I went to 1,000 here. Thanks again for the support. They're all on YouTube, because as I've learned, everybody has a platform that they prefer. For me, I'll be honest with you, it's generally Spotify. Now, I will watch a YouTube video, but generally it's Spotify. That's the one because I can drive in my car and do it without it cutting out and everything. But for some people, it's YouTube. And so I totally respect that. And someone said, dude, you have to make sure that you're moving those videos from TikTok and Facebook to YouTube, because there's people on YouTube. And I'm like, okay. And again, I had done it years ago when I was podcasting a whole different podcast, and I didn't get a lot of hits, right? And I felt like, oh man, I'm doing everything. But now I have noticed like certain videos that maybe 10 years ago, I would have gotten like 10 hits. I've gotten like, 500 views on it. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, and because I am a smaller creator, and so I'm like, oh, wow, 500 views. Okay, we're getting closer. We're going to build. And so I've gotten more of these videos that have more hits, and some are slower growing, like some are 12. And then like, I'll look at it, like, I'll get analytics a couple days later, and it's gone from 12 to like 350. And again, if you're a bigger creator, you're like, oh, that's like small numbers. But for me being a small creator, I want to do the slow kind of creep up versus the fast, like, oh my gosh, she's everywhere. I really kind of like this, because this is kind of like a passion project that I want to kind of do, kind of like do in my later years. And because all these are things I'm doing anyway. So I thought, you know what? I just want to align and reach out to people that are kind of like in the same kind of boat. They're in their Jessica Fletcher era too. They're in their I think on the code they call it Coastal Grandma era. They're in their Quaint and Cozy KC era. And so yeah, I just wanted to connect with people like that. So I will talk to you next week. And I also this whole week made me think about, how practical is it to do a podcast on Wednesdays for me? Because, Wednesdays are heating up because things are moving around. So I got to kind of figure out when I'm going to do this podcast. Part of me says Saturday, but then when I do it on Saturday, I've got to, run, do this podcast and then go run some more. So again, I don't know how practical that is. So I'm still just working it out. And thanks for coming along on the journey with me. Take care, everyone. And I will talk to you soon. Oh, and don't forget, for all my Quaint and Cozy KC followers, On TikTok, I will be going live tomorrow. I'll be doing some of the meal prep stuff. So just kind of keep that in mind. And if you miss it on the TikTok live, I'll have it on the YouTube. Okay, take care, everyone. I'll talk to you soon.